The millionaire's autistic son never spoke, but the new nanny did something that changed everything. Seattle, a city where glass towers touch the clouds, reflecting the gray skies of the Pacific Northwest. Amid the rush of traffic and the distant call of ships in the harbor, there stood a mansion on a quiet hillside, a place where time itself seemed to stop. The Carter estate, grand, exquisite, yet as cold as a museum. Daniel Carter, a celebrated architect and the master of that house, had once been the man everyone admired. Talented, wealthy, powerful. But after the sudden death of his wife, what remained were tired eyes and an emptiness nothing could fill. Inside that vast house lived Lucas, Daniel's only son. At 8 years old, after the accident that had taken his mother's life, Lucas had retreated into silence. He spoke to no one. He looked at no one. He lived locked away in his own world. To outsiders, he was an impossible case. To Daniel, he was the greatest wound he could never heal. And then, on a rainy afternoon, a young woman appeared before the iron gates of the mansion. Anna Reyes, carrying a worn bag, her gaze determined but shadowed with despair. She was not arriving as the child therapist she truly was, but as something far simpler, a nanny. Anna had no idea that by stepping through those gates, she would not only change the lives of Daniel and Lucas, but her own as well. "I can't take this anymore, Mom." Anna Reyes pressed the phone to her ear as she walked down a rain-slick street on the outskirts of Seattle. The glass towers in the distance blurred behind a veil of drizzle. "I've knocked on every door. No clinic will hire someone without valid work papers." On the other end, her mother's voice came from California, weary and worried. "Anna, are you sure there's no other way? After all those years of study, now you're applying as a nanny?" Anna stopped in front of a towering iron gate. Beyond it loomed a 3-story mansion, its polished windows reflecting the gloomy sky. In her worn bag lay only a few resumes and the last of her savings. "It's temporary, Mom, just until I get my documents in order. I don't have another choice." She took a deep breath, hung up, and adjusted the faded black coat clinging to her shoulders. She pressed the buzzer. A male voice crackled through, distant and clipped. "Yes?" "Hello, I'm Anna Reyes. I'm here for the nanny interview." A long silence followed. Then, slowly, the gate creaked open. Anna walked up the stone path, everything unnervingly perfect. The trimmed lawn, the neat rose bushes, the marble fountain glistening under the drizzle. It felt less like a home and more like a museum exhibit. The door opened. Daniel Carter appeared. At 40, he still carried the presence of a man once admired by the world. Tall, composed, gray-eyed. Yet Anna noticed immediately the exhaustion weighing down his gaze. "Ms. Reyes?" His voice was deep, controlled. "Come in." The vast living room gleamed with white marble and crystal chandeliers, yet radiated emptiness. Daniel led her into his study, its walls lined with blueprints, awards, and photographs of him with powerful figures. "Before we begin," Daniel said, standing tall over her, "you need to understand something. This is not a normal household. My son, Lucas, has special needs. Many nannies have quit because they couldn't handle it." Anna nodded, heart racing. She knew instantly from his cautious phrasing, autism. "I understand, Mr. Carter." Daniel gave a bitter laugh. "No, you don't. Lucas is 8. He doesn't talk to anyone. Everything must be in the exact same place, the same meals, the same schedule. One small change, and it all collapses." Just then, a loud crash echoed upstairs. A piercing scream followed, rattling the air. Daniel winced as though struck. "Lucas!" He sprinted up the stairs. Anna hesitated, then followed. At the upstairs hall, Mrs. Collins, the silver-haired housekeeper, wrung her hands by a closed door. "A maid moved his toy cars," she whispered. "He's been crying for 20 minutes." Inside, Lucas's screams shook the walls. Daniel tapped the door softly, voice gentle. "Lucas, it's Dad. It's all right. We'll fix the cars." The cries only intensified. Anna's chest tightened. The boy wasn't rejecting his father. He was drowning in sensory overload. Slowly, she sat down on the floor, leaning against the door. She hummed a steady, gentle melody, letting it vibrate through the wood. Daniel turned sharply. "What are you doing?" "Shh." Anna kept humming, her breath slow, deliberate. The cries faltered. Then silence. The door cracked open. A small boy with tousled brown hair and eyes too large for his face peeked out. He clutched a red toy car, glanced briefly at Anna's shoes, then retreated into the room, closing the door again. Mrs. Collins covered her mouth, tears brimming. Daniel stared at Anna, unreadable. Finally, he spoke quietly. "Tomorrow, 7 a.m., you start." Anna nodded. She had just stepped into a world where every day would be a battle, not only with Lucas, but with the truth she dared not reveal. On her very first morning, exactly at 7 a.m., Anna stepped into the kitchen that felt more like a restaurant than a home. Mrs. Collins, in her crisp white apron, handed her a sheet of paper detailing the daily schedule. "Everything must be exact. Lucas can't tolerate changes. Breakfast at 7:15, always the same. Toast cut into 2-centimeter squares, orange juice without pulp, and bananas sliced precisely half an inch thick." Anna forced a smile. To her, this wasn't just a nanny's duty. It was a test. She followed every instruction carefully, hands steady though her heart raced. Lucas appeared right on time, small for his age, clutching his red toy car. His bright eyes avoided everyone's gaze. He said nothing, sat in his usual chair, and waited. Anna placed the plate in front of him, gently greeting, "Good morning, Lucas." No response, yet he ate every piece, every slice, as if programmed. While Lucas ate, Anna began tidying the living room. In daylight, the Carter mansion revealed itself fully. Flawless, yet lifeless. White walls, furniture aligned in perfect symmetry, not a trace of ordinary living. It felt like a space meant to be admired, not inhabited. But Anna noticed small clues that told another story. A box of Legos tucked beneath the sofa. A half-finished drawing hidden in a drawer. A worn pillow Lucas clutched whenever he watched TV. These details whispered that behind the perfection lived a boy who still longed for comfort. The next day, Anna observed Lucas more closely. He moved along the same paths through the house, lined his toy cars in perfect rows, never letting anyone touch them. Anna didn't interfere. She simply worked quietly, letting him know her presence was safe, non-invasive. That afternoon, as she folded blankets on the sofa, Lucas stood in the doorway, watching. His gaze didn't meet hers directly, but it was deliberate. Anna's heart leapt. This was a sign of permission. Without comment, she hummed the same melody from the day before, folding the blankets into neat squares. Lucas took a small step closer. Anna pretended not to notice. She continued polishing the glass table in wide circles, letting the light shimmer across its surface. Lucas stayed still, eyes tracking the movement. When she pressed a cushion down onto the sofa with a soft thump, he edged half a step nearer. "Do you like these circles, Lucas?" Anna asked softly, her voice warm. There was no reply, but he didn't leave. That alone was a victory. Day by day, Anna built a rhythm of her own, preparing meals in the morning, then doing chores within Lucas's sight, subtly turning each task into a chance for indirect communication. She didn't rush, didn't pressure. She simply planted small seeds in his silent world. Mrs. Collins noticed everything with quiet amazement. One evening, she murmured to Anna in the kitchen, "I've never seen him stand and watch someone for so long. Perhaps you're doing what no one else could." Anna only smiled. She knew this was just the beginning, A long, difficult journey, but one filled with hope. A week passed. Anna slowly adapted to the strict rhythm of life in the Carter mansion. Every morning she prepared breakfast exactly as instructed, then went about her chores, always keeping her movements steady, predictable, and calm. Lucas, who at first only watched her from a distance, began to venture closer. Some days he sat on the staircase, clutching his red car, quietly observing Anna as she polished the glass. His eyes never met hers directly, but her presence was no longer foreign. One morning, as Anna folded a blanket on the sofa, she hummed her familiar tune. Suddenly, Lucas stepped closer than ever before. Just a few feet away, he lifted his finger and traced a circle in the air, mimicking her hand. Anna's heart nearly stopped, but she kept her voice calm. Yes, circles are beautiful. They always come back to where they started, like a closed loop. Lucas let out a faint, almost like agreement. It wasn't quite speech, but to Anna, it was more precious than words. That very day, Daniel happened to witness Lucas standing near Anna. He froze for a moment. His son had always avoided everyone. "He seems comfortable with you," Daniel said, his deep voice tinged with surprise. Anna only smiled. "I don't force him. I just let him decide when he's ready." Daniel was silent, his gaze lingering on her longer than necessary. A few days later, another small miracle occurred. Lucas no longer ate breakfast in complete silence. When Anna placed the toast before him, he tapped his red car twice on the table before eating. To most, it would seem odd, but Anna recognized it instantly, a signal of communication, his way of marking presence. "Thank you for telling me, Lucas," she murmured, without expecting a reply. From across the room, Mrs. Collins's eyes glistened with emotion. That evening, Daniel invited Anna to share dinner with him and Lucas instead of eating separately in the kitchen. At the long dining table, warm light fell across the polished wood. Anna sat at one end, Lucas in the middle, Daniel across from her. At first, silence ruled, only the clink of silverware. But when Anna told a light-hearted story about her mother planting flowers back in California, Lucas paused mid-bite, lifting his head briefly before resuming his meal. To Daniel, it was like a beam of light breaking through months of darkness. "It's been so long since he's eaten at the table," Daniel whispered, as if afraid the spell would break. Anna glanced at Lucas with tenderness. "Every small change is a big step forward," hummed. Daniel nodded slightly, though inside he felt something shift. Somehow, this young woman had breathed warmth into a house that had been lifeless since Elena's death. Late that night, as Anna cleaned the kitchen, Mrs. Collins placed a hand on her shoulder. "Don't you see? The whole house feels different. Lucas no longer shuts the world out completely. And Mr. Carter, he's starting to smile again." Anna stayed quiet, but her heart knew the truth. Yes, the progress was small, fragile, but it was exactly that fragility that made it so priceless. And deep down, she began to feel she was no longer just a nanny who happened to walk through the gates, but part of something much greater. Autumn nights in Seattle carried a chill. The Carter garden glowed beneath soft lights lining the stone path. Maple leaves whispered in the breeze, mingling with the murmur of the fountain. Anna wrapped herself in a thin sweater and stepped outside for air. To her surprise, Daniel was already there, seated on a stone bench by the water. A glass in his hand still carried traces of steam. His usual suit had been replaced by a rolled-sleeve shirt, making him look younger, more approachable. "Can't sleep?" Anna asked softly. Daniel turned, offering a faint smile. "I never do. Since Elena passed, sleep has abandoned me." Anna slowly sat down, leaving a respectful space between them. Silence stretched, filled only by the trickle of water. "What was she like?" Anna asked cautiously. Daniel drew a deep breath, eyes fixed on the pond. "Elena," was a special education teacher. She understood Lucas in ways no one else could. Just one look, and she knew what he needed. Anna's chest tightened. The pieces suddenly fit. Lucas had once had a perfect anchor, and when Elena was gone, his world collapsed. Lucas was closer to her than to anyone, Daniel went on, voice faltering. When the accident happened, he was in the car. He wasn't hurt, but he saw everything. From that day, he stopped speaking. Anna closed her eyes. Children often cannot voice their grief. They retreat into silence, and Lucas had chosen that silence. The doctors said he may never speak again, Daniel whispered. I've taken him to the best specialists, in New York, in San Francisco. Nothing changed. Anna turned to him, her gaze steady. Lucas doesn't need to be fixed. He's grieving. What he needs first is safety, the certainty that no one else will leave him. Daniel studied her. Something shifted in his expression, as if hearing, for the first time, the truth he had never dared to consider. Silence lingered. Their breaths mingled in the cool mist. Anna, Daniel murmured, his voice low. Since you came, this house hasn't been completely silent anymore. I feel hope. His eyes rested on her face, tender yet dangerous. Anna's pulse raced. She felt the distance shrinking, just one tilt forward, and their lips would meet. But she turned away. We shouldn't. I'm only your nanny. Daniel was quiet, a sad smile flickering across his features. Perhaps you're right. Anna rose, clutching her sweater tighter. Inside her, a storm raged. She knew she was treading dangerously close to a line. She had come here to work, not to open her heart. And above all, she was living behind a lie. As she stepped back into the house, she glanced over her shoulder. Daniel still sat motionless in the garden, a man carrying too much weight, yet for the first time touched by a glimmer of light in the darkness. On a drizzling morning, Anna was preparing breakfast as usual when Mrs. Collins rushed into the kitchen, breathless. Miss Anna, quick! Lucas is in the living room. He called your name. Anna's heart nearly stopped. She wiped her hands and hurried out. There, by the rain-streaked window, Lucas stood quietly, the red car still in his hand. His lips moved. Anna, just one word, small as a breath, yet it echoed through the entire house. Tears welled in Anna's eyes. Yes, I'm here, Lucas. He didn't look directly at her, but his small hand extended, offering her the red car. Mrs. Collins gasped, covering her mouth. That's the toy he's never shared with anyone. Anna's hands trembled as she accepted it. Thank you, sweetheart. This is the greatest gift. Lucas gave a tiny nod, then whispered another word. Red. His gaze flicked toward the rose bushes in the garden. Anna understood instantly. He was connecting colors, objects, and memory. That's right. Red like the roses, red like this car. Red is also the color of love. Daniel appeared just then. He froze, stunned to see his son not only communicating, but sharing. His eyes blurred with tears. Lucas! The boy turned, and for the first time in nearly 2 years whispered, Dad. Daniel's knees buckled as he dropped to the floor, tears streaming. I'm here, Lucas. I'll never leave you. The house seemed to erupt with light. Mrs. Collins turned away to wipe her eyes. Anna stood motionless, her heart overflowing with joy and fear. She had crossed far beyond the line of a nanny. What had just happened was the fruit of knowledge, of love. And she could no longer deny she had become part of Lucas's world. That evening, Daniel asked the three of them to dine together in the main dining room, something that hadn't happened since Elena's passing. Candlelight flickered, silverware chimed softly. Lucas ate slowly, but this time he pointed to the salmon and uttered a single word. More. Anna nearly cried. Daniel looked at her, his gaze full of trust and gratitude. After dinner, Lucas ran upstairs, leaving Daniel and Anna alone. He stood near the window, the light casting his face in shadow and hope. "Anna, today was a miracle. My son, he's coming back because of you." Anna lowered her head, keeping her distance. "No, because of Lucas. Your son is braver than all of us." Daniel stepped closer, his voice trembling. "Not only Lucas, I've changed too. Since you walked into this house, it hasn't been all darkness anymore." Their eyes met. Silence surged between them, a thread pulling two souls nearer. Anna felt herself wanting to trust, wanting to let go of the walls around her. Yet deep inside, fear screamed she was living behind a lie, and when the truth came out, everything might collapse. That night, in her small room, Anna clutched the red car Lucas had entrusted her with, tears slipping down her cheeks. She whispered, "If only I were just an ordinary nanny, maybe this would be easier." She didn't know that upstairs, Daniel too lay sleepless, staring at the ceiling, his heart echoing the same thought. "This woman has made me believe in miracles, and I cannot let her go." But sometimes miracles come with a price, and for Anna, that price was the truth she had tried so hard to hide. On Friday morning, as Anna set her bag down in the kitchen, Mrs. Collins greeted her warmly. "Lucas woke up early today, even picked out his own shirt. I haven't seen him do that since his mother passed." Anna sighed in relief. Another small step forward, but before she could smile fully, a male voice came from the doorway. "That's a very interesting way to describe advanced behavioral and sensory therapy techniques." Anna froze. Standing there was a middle-aged man with graying beard, leather case in hand, eyes sharp. "I'm sorry, you are—" Daniel entered behind him, straightening his tie. "Anna, this is Dr. Harris, the therapist I asked to evaluate Lucas's sudden progress." Anna's heart dropped. Dr. Harris sat down, his tone calm yet cutting. "When Mrs. Collins described how you fold blankets with rhythm or turn cleaning into sensory play, I recognized it immediately. Those aren't instincts, those are professional techniques." He paused, fixing his gaze on her. "You're not just a nanny, are you?" Mrs. Collins gasped. "You mean—" Daniel's eyes drilled into Anna, half suspicion, half demand. "Answer me, Anna. Who are you, really?" The kitchen fell silent. Anna's throat went dry. She had hidden it for so long, but could no longer. "Yes, I'm a child therapist. I worked at an early intervention center until it shut down and my work permit expired. I needed a job to survive, so I applied as a nanny." Mrs. Collins raised a trembling hand to her mouth. Daniel's face, however, went pale, his eyes blazing with anger. "So, from the very beginning, you lied to me." "It's not what you think," Anna cried. "I only meant to do this temporarily until I fixed my papers. But when I saw Lucas, I couldn't turn away. I used what I knew to help him." Daniel let out a bitter laugh, colder than she had ever heard. "Or maybe you planned it all, a therapist who just happens to become a nanny, who slowly weaves her way into our lives, makes me trust her, makes my son depend on her. And in the end, makes me feel grateful, even." His voice caught, unable to finish. "No!" Anna shouted, tears spilling. "I never tried to take advantage. Everything I did for Lucas, for you, was real. I love that boy, and—" She clenched her fists. "I don't want to lose you both." The kitchen door suddenly swung open. Lucas stood there clutching his red car, eyes wide with fear. "Anna? Sad?" Anna turned, forcing a smile through tears. "No, sweetheart, I'm fine." Daniel froze. His son had just spoken a full sentence for the first time, but instead of joy, conflict tore through him. Progress made because of Anna, the woman who had lied to him. His voice was raw. "Leave, Anna. Now. I don't want you near my son again." Lucas panicked. "No! Don't go! Anna, stay!" He bolted forward, wrapping his arms tightly around her, tears streaming. "Without Anna, I go silent again. I can't talk." Anna knelt, heart breaking. "You're strong, Lucas. You can keep going, even without me." Daniel turned away, fists clenched. Anger, betrayal, fragile trust, all colliding inside him. Anna placed Lucas back into his father's arms, her voice breaking. "Everything I did was genuine. If you can't believe that, I have nothing more to say." And with that, she walked away, leaving behind the sound of a child screaming her name, shattering the silence of the mansion. The Carter mansion had returned to silence. But it was no longer the familiar silence. It was an unbearable emptiness. 2 weeks had passed since Anna left. In that time, Lucas had not uttered a single word. He shut himself in his room, refused food, refused play, clutching his red car and crying out Anna every night. Daniel sat in his office, paperwork piled high, yet unread. The muffled sobs of his son from the next room pierced him like knives. He had hired a new nanny, even brought in other specialists, but all had failed. Lucas had closed off more than ever before. One night, Daniel opened a kitchen drawer and discovered a small notebook left behind. It was Anna's. Page after page brimmed with notes. Day 3, Lucas responds positively to light reflections on the glass. Day 7, small change in food presentation, good result. Day 12, first voluntary eye contact, lasted 2 seconds. Every line was detailed, professional, yet filled with warmth. Among the notes, Daniel found a letter never sent. "Daniel, I should have told you the truth from the start, but I was afraid of losing the chance to be near Lucas. I am a therapist, but above all, I am someone who loves that boy as my own family. And I fear that I'm beginning to love you too." Daniel sank into the chair, clutching the notebook as if it were a lifeline. Every suspicion, every harsh word replayed in his mind, nothing but a shield for his wounded pride, and he had paid the price with his son's silence returning. That night, for the first time in years, Daniel wept. He clutched the notebook to his chest, whispering, "I was wrong, Anna." Upstairs, Lucas lay curled in bed, clutching his red car, lips murmuring in his sleep, "Anna, don't go." Daniel stepped quietly into the room, sat by his side, and stroked his hair. "I promise I'll find her, son. I promise." In the cold mansion, that promise echoed like a new beginning. The cost of pride had been far too high, and Daniel knew there was only one way to make it right, to find the woman who had brought miracles into their lives. That promise haunted Daniel all night. The next morning, he drove through Seattle's rain-slick streets, heading to the small apartment where Anna lived. At the door of Unit 3B, Daniel knocked 3 times. Silence. Then the sound of locks turning. The door opened, and Anna appeared, thinner, with dark circles under her eyes from sleepless nights. "What are you doing here?" Her voice was cold. "I came to apologize," Daniel said, his voice breaking, eyes raw with sleepless nights and regret. Anna clenched her fists, fighting the surge of emotions. "Apologize? You accused me of being a manipulator, someone who calculated everything. Do you know how those words destroyed me?" Daniel lowered his head. "I know, and I was wrong, so wrong. I let pride blind me instead of trusting what my heart could see. Anna, everything you did for Lucas was real. I read the notebook you left behind. I know you love that boy with your whole heart." Tears welled in Anna's eyes. "But what about you? Did you ever believe I cared for you? Not for money, not for status, but for who you are." Daniel stepped closer, his voice raw. "I believe it now, and I'm begging you. Give me a second chance, not just because Lucas needs you, but because I need you too." The room fell quiet. Anna turned toward the cracked, faded wall, so far removed from the opulence of the Carter mansion. I can't go back as a nanny. If I return, it will be as who I truly am, a therapist and," she paused, heart pounding, "a part of the family." Daniel lifted his gaze, eyes shining. He took her hand, gripping it tightly. "I promise. This time, no lies, no doubts, only the truth. And us." Anna stood silent for a long moment, then gave a small nod. In that instant, Daniel pulled her into his arms, like a man who had finally found the missing piece of his soul. Outside the window, Seattle's drizzle continued to fall. But in their embrace, a new beginning was taking shape, one built on truth and trust. 6 months after their reunion, the Carter Mansion was no longer a house of silence, but a place filled with laughter and warmth. On a Saturday morning, sunlight streamed through the tall windows, flooding the wide kitchen. Lucas, now 9, stood on a little wooden stool, eagerly stirring pancake batter. It splattered everywhere, covering his shirt, and he burst into bright laughter. "Careful there, Chef Lucas," Anna chuckled as she wiped the counter. "I'm making chocolate pancakes," Lucas exclaimed, his voice full of joy. Clear, confident words rang through the kitchen, something Daniel once thought impossible. Daniel entered, carrying a pot of coffee, smiling in a way few had ever seen. "Does the chef need another assistant?" Lucas nodded vigorously, hair flopping. "Dad, you cut the strawberries, and Anna, you add more chocolate." Anna laughed, pretending to be stern. "Bossy little chef." "I'm the head chef," Lucas retorted, eyes sparkling. Laughter filled the kitchen, mingling with the aroma of coffee and sweet pancakes baking in the oven. Life had changed. Lucas was now back in school, a small program with teachers who understood him. He not only spoke more, but even cracked jokes. "Dad, you drink so much coffee, one day your hair will be coffee-colored too." The whole class laughed, and Daniel himself joined in with genuine laughter, something he hadn't done in years. Every evening, Lucas read short passages from children's books. His pace was still slow, but the confidence in his eyes made Anna and Daniel beam with pride. That morning, after breakfast was ready, the three of them sat together at the table. Lucas shared about yesterday's assignment. "My teacher asked me to write about family. I wrote, 'My family is Dad, Anna, and me. We eat breakfast together, play Lego, and tell jokes. My family isn't perfect, but it's mine.'" Anna felt tears prick her eyes and reached for Daniel's hand. He squeezed back, his gaze shimmering. After Lucas ran outside to play, Daniel turned to Anna, his voice low and steady. "I said this long ago, but today I want to say it again, with nothing but truth in my heart." Anna looked at him, waiting. Daniel leaned closer, his voice a vow more than a whisper. "You are extraordinary. No hesitation, no shadows of doubt, only truth, bare and absolute." Anna smiled softly, eyes shining. "And so are you, Daniel." Outside, Lucas ran across the yard, laughing and shouting, "Dad, Anna, come see my giant Lego castle." Daniel stood, offering his hand to Anna. She took it, their fingers locking tightly together. They stepped out into the garden, where a boy was waiting, his face glowing under the morning sun. In that moment, there was no past pain, no lies, only a real family, where love, honesty, and trust had healed every wound. And the Carter Mansion, once a cold museum house, had finally become a true home, filled with laughter.